Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm going to do a bit more work on my underwater textile collage today, inspired by our lovely Viviana Molinares, who is she's just such an inspiration. And this project will be going on for a long time to come yet. It's not going to be a quick one for sure. I don't want to rush it. I want to enjoy every minute. And I want everybody who's joining in with me to take the time and enjoy the process as well. So I've still got, last time I finished up, I did my kind of bodgy form of trapunto technique to stuff out my octopus, and I've still got lots of work to do on him. Let me take you to the desk and show you what I'm talking about. So I stuffed him all out. I think you can see there. We started to add a bit of dimension by stuffing him from the back, and I just showed a little bit of what I'm going to be doing kind of all over the place to add texture. So little clusters of beads and sequins and stitching, and some stitching to add texture and blend the colours in together. And also I want to do some more contrasty. I want to add some more pop to this, and I need to do some adjustments to the eye. I'm going to be pulling this out and adding lots of crusty stitching around here to get the eye to the right, to a better shape, more like that, and to create that kind of bulbous shape that they have to their eyes, but also make it look like part of the head, you know. So I'm a bit sneezy today. I've got a little bit of a, I don't know if it's a cold coming or what. I refuse to accept it. I haven't got time for a cold. But today I'm going to go back to doing a little bit of work on the background with you, because there's a particular reason why I've decided to come back and share a bit of this process with you. Because come back up here again. The lovely Bettie over in the US sent me a gorgeous package. There will be a video opening it, a little happy mail video coming up very soon with the package that Bettie sent, full of lovely things. A quilt piece for our bonkers quilt, and lots of lovely things for me to make use of, including some really beautiful things for my underwater textile collage. Clearly Bettie is very much into this textural kind of fibre textile art thing as well, and she's a big fan of a lady called Judith Baker Montano, and Bettie sent me this book and I'm thrilled to bits with it. I think Viviana's going to love it as well. Viviana, if you haven't already got this book, I guarantee you're going to want it. Some of it very much reminds me of what Viviana does, but there are some ideas here for using different types of stitches that I know, they're simple stitches that I know very well, but I've not used them in this way, and I love the way the book's laid out, so I wanted to quickly show you it. Well, not quickly, but you know. So for a start, look at this beautiful picture on the front. Gorgeous underwater world. I love the layers and layers of sheer fabrics here to create this lovely ethereal moody kind of underwater background, and then all these velvets and silks and fancy fibres and things, and piles of stitches. I can see bits of dyed kind of tatted material down here. Beautiful, such an inspiration. Now Bettie had marked a few pages for me. Love this piece. I think there's a better picture of it in the back. We'll come to that in a minute. There's so much. There is so much. I can't show the whole book. But this stitch guide is what I'm going to have a little bit of a work through today, and I thought you might find it useful as well. So these are taking simple stitches that we all know, Y stitches here, or fly stitches. I don't even know if there's a difference anymore. French knots and things, and using them in interesting ways to create little pieces of underwater foliage and coral and, you know, background. And I love how she lays it out. So you've got a picture there of the actual stitches having been worked, you know, a real photograph, and then you've got nice clear diagrams telling you how to do it. So this arrowhead stitch is a very simple stitch, but by using it in different ways she's created these. This easy stitch can be worked in fine metallic threads for stars or sun reflections on the ocean, and in yarn for underwater anemones and seashells. Yeah, all these different thicknesses and textures of thread that she's used to create different effects. Look at these. There's basically the same stitch used in all these different ways. Love the look of this. That is so reminiscent of the kind of seaweeds and things. And I think at one point in the book she mentions that think about where you put the horizon in your scene. If you put it, you know, as a horizon in an underwater scene, the same as there is in any kind of landscape. So if you put it higher up, you're going to have more stuff in the foreground and less of the water part. I want more of the water part because I want the creatures in there. But she also mentions that the seaweed and corals and things tend to be attached low and then reach upwards. So yeah. So this is just a threaded back stitch that she's then woven, threaded with. She's done the back stitch and then threaded with a fancy fibre to create this sort of effect. Such a clever way of using it. Braid stitch. Love the way she's used bullion knots here. Look at these. Look at this. I think another person I know who will love this, if she doesn't know her already, she probably already does, is our Jen. I know some of the people that, now I've forgotten, Judith mentions all these J's. She says some thank yous and mentions some friends of hers, and some of the friends are people that I know that Jen has worked with as well. Where was that bit? Here we are. Thank you to my wonderful friends and mentors, and amongst them all, amongst all the people she thanks there, are Jan Beanie and Jean Littlejohn, who I know. Our Jen is a big fan of both of those ladies and has done workshops with them and things in the past. Yeah. So I'm sure Jen probably already knows this lady. But and look at this, a knotted buttonhole stitch. That's so good. Look at these. These are all just versions of buttonhole stitches, but look what she's done with them. So I want to try some of these ideas today, and I thought I'd try some of them with you. Once I saw this, I thought I've got to share this. Look at the different ways of using chain stitch here. Also reminds me, going back to our Maggie Morris, the way she uses simple stitches in interesting ways. Colonial knot. Now I used to love doing a colonial knot rather than French knots. I'd like to try that again. Twisted chain thread, never tried that. And you can see they're all numbered here. So number 17, if you want to know what this one is, number 17 is couching. If you want to know kind of, oh, how has she done this bit? Number 15, colonial knot. So where's 14, chain, twisted chain? That must be on a previous page. And all of these, you know, they'll make underwater or land foliage, won't they? They're just sort of indefinite kind of foliage effects. This is something I've been doing a lot with our bonkers quilt, is couching down strips of silk. Love all these effects. So I can't imagine I'll be doing all of these stitches today, but thought it would be fun to try a few of them with you. Look at that. The other thing I like about this book, look at these. Love these little things. Yeah, the other thing I love about this book is that here she's drawn different tree shapes and leaf shapes for you to refer to, and bark types. So useful. Doing grasses and weeds. And I thought this is interesting. Be aware that grass and weeds can't be seen way off in the background. In the midground there'll just be a hint of them, so use fine threads. I'm sure at some point she says she used finer, darker colours, and then towards the foreground you use highlight the grasses in the foreground with seed pods and the odd flowering head sticking up above the rest. Use heavier, more colourful threads towards the front. And interesting this, weeds always stand out from the surrounding grasses. They're just more successful, aren't they? So you get this multi-layered effect. I mean, look at that. Incredible. Different types of grass shapes. And here I thought this was very useful. She's looked at underwater shapes and corals and then she's done some drawings and paintings. She does say that she finds it useful to paint the shapes and things first. All these different types of coral and other things you'll find under the sea, and then she's found stitchy ways to represent them. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book, and I'm very grateful that Betty sent it to me. So much useful information. I'm not even going to attempt to go through it all. I did earmark a couple of things I wanted to show you, so I think I've just put that there just to show a bit more of that landscape effect that she gets. The more detail in the front. And look at the way she's handled the light and the way the landscape goes kind of mauvey, purpley in the background. Lighter and brighter towards. I just love everything about that piece. Think like a painter, it says. And this is the picture that's on the front, but it's probably going to be a bit easier to see. It's less shiny. I love the way she scrumples up velvet like this. And I know that it's another thing that I've seen Viviana do, where she's taken fabric and manipulated it into folds and rumples to show the the kind of stem bit of a type of coral. I don't even know what all these things are called, but they're just so familiar when you see them. Yeah, this kind of thing. I've seen Viviana doing this kind of folding. I'm sure if Viviana hasn't already got this book, she will want to get it once she sees this, for sure. Got all these beautiful examples of her work, and the way she's used all these scraps of fabric and simple stitches and layers. There will be hours and hours, days of work in a piece like that. It's fabulous. It's not a huge piece. Laguna Pueblo. And it's fab. So I'm going to work through some of those with you, just a few of them with you today, and I've gathered together some bits and pieces looking at that. I've been very lucky. People have sent some lovely things in with their bonkers quilt pieces, and extra bits that I can use in my seascape as well. I've got some different colours and textures of threads. So these are number 8 Perle, and that one. This one's like a number 5. I've also got some other, like this is stranded cotton. This is that kind of 2-ply wool mix thread that I've got, and this is a number 12, meant for using on the sewing machine, but I use it for hand sewing, just to give me some different thicknesses. I've also got, I've been hoarding these since I bought them. I bought a couple of packs. I can't remember now what else I got, but I got some things. I bought some things from Steph Francis to put in a prize pack, and because I wanted to have more than one colour of these bundles, I got 2 and split them and kept kind of half of them myself. So they've been hoarded away ever since, and I thought this is a beautiful chance to use these. I've got some bits and pieces that other people have been sending me that will all come in to my background. So beautiful things that people have included that I thought, oh yes, perfect for the underwater scene. All these different kinds of laces and things. Primarily I'm using scrap packs from Bazaar, so you'll get this kind of thing in the scrap packs, these silks, these kind of things you'll get in the scraps from Bazaar. This was definitely a Bazaar scrap pack. This is amongst the things that Betty sent me. I think she sent me lots of things. Here's another Bazaar piece. So I've got, you can see my colour scheme tends to, it's these kind of aquas and blues, greeny blues, and then these corals and pinks. I feel like I want a bit more drama, so like I need to add some pop to my octopus, also to my background. So I think some of these deeper colours will be good as well. Beautiful. These came in that pack from Bettie as well, so I've got those ready. Oh, now who sent me this piece? Was this Ellen? Oh no. See, I'm so spot rotten, I can't remember who sent me what now, but you'll know who you are. So yeah, I've got that ready. Oh, this was in that package from Jan. Look at these beautiful fibres. And yeah, you can see all the lovely different textures and things in there. Definitely be able to, this is a good chance to use some of those. I think this actually didn't come with that. That's a piece of sari ribbon, I think, but that was probably tying up one of Ellen's bundles. That's the sort of thing she would use. That's another in my Steph Francis hoard. I found some of this because I know Viviana uses a lot of this kind of thing, and she included a little snippet of it in the card she sent to me in the last parcel that she sent, and it's quite similar to this. It's got this sort of two colour iridescent quality to it. Lovely to use for little, you know, bits of frondage, and also for things like the seahorses kind of wing thing at the back, dorsal fin, whatever it is. Like Viviana said, this stuff does have a tendency to fray. It makes it quite difficult to work with. I did briefly experiment with just burning an edge, because that will stop it fraying, and I thought it might make an interesting little edge as well. But if you try this, be extremely careful. Do it over a sink full of water or something, because it really flared up. I had to quickly blow it out and control it. So very much have an experiment. They don't all flare up quite as badly as that. It depends on what it's made of. But be very, very safety conscious if you try burning an edge of it like this. Especially the first time you try it, you know, because some fabrics will, as I say, flare up more than others. But if I can cut a strip of it, manage to burn the edges so that they don't fray, because this would fray away a lot. And sometimes that fraying away is nice. It depends. But I think that little kind of crispy edge could be quite effective. So I'm not sure, I might experiment with that. But yeah, heavy safety warning there if you try anything like that. Well, there's another little piece. That was maybe in the Ellen package, I'm not sure. Okay. Oh, and one lovely, you will see these when I open that, when you see the opening the Bettie parcel video. But look at these that Bettie made for me to add in. Look at these beauties. All made with, so these are, they're done on, well, these two are done on circles of felt. This is like a stuffed felt ball, and then they've got strings of beads, alternating beads and sequins there on that one. This one's, it's like a detached chain stitch, or yeah, not chain stitch, a detached blanket stitch, maybe a blanket stitch. Maybe what she's done is do a long thread, bead on the end, and then done a detached chain, and then gone back into the background, the piece of felt, leaving a long, like double thickness of thread, and then done the blanket stitch over that, maybe. But what a lovely effect. And whether you did it in these glorious colours, or you did it in more kind of neutral, deeper colours, you know, it very much gives that effect of those kind of sea urchins, or like, you know, I don't even know what they're called, those things that got the long, I know Viviana does a lot of them, where she, with the long kind of almost like a stem, and then all that business on the top. So I could create a stem out of some kind of a fabric or whatever and make this the top of it, or they could just, you know, they could just nestle somewhere like that. Fabulous. Add a bit of fun and drama to my background, so very excited to get those. I've also got my Suffolk puff makers handy, yo-yo makers, because they do make it easier to do yo-yos. And yo-yos would be a lovely way to do kind of barnacles, and or leave them open and fill the centres with beads or whatever, just to give that impression of vague, nameless underwater life. So that is all the stuff I've got to play with. I've got a massive mountain behind me as well. It's outgrown the basket that I had put aside for this project. But what a lovely chance to use all these things that we hoard, isn't it? Playtime this is. I've still got these gorgeous pieces from Procrastilas, these beautiful beaded pieces. So I swiped 3 of these, I think I picked out. Some of them will end up on the quilts, some will end up in my dictionary of stitches. I swiped 3 of them to include in my seascape project, because I thought, and one of them is here. But if you put something that's in the centre of, that's a stuffed Suffolk puff actually, yo-yo, say I'd put that in the centre of it, it could look really beautiful. And sometimes when you've just got something like this, you can just a strand of that, or a couple of strands is enough to make beautiful impression of kind of colourful frondage. Frondage isn't a real word, I'm aware. Oh, just look at those together, how gorgeous. And these kind of things, although I've got these that I did buy quite expensively from, so this was like a half of one of Steph Francis kind of space-dyed bundles of different, I've forgotten what they call it, but it's different types of fibres. You could look at what you've got in your ribbons and odds and ends drawers that we all have stuff stashed away, or you could tear strips like where's it gone now, like this strip, which is just a torn strip of calico or something. I think that was tying up one of Ellen's parcels. But dye that with your ink tents or whatever you've got, whatever paints and things you've got. It's lovely to have these kind of things like this, but they are pricey. And yeah, and if you're working with the bazaar scrap packs, as I am, quite often you'll get ribbons and things tying up. They don't put things in plastic anymore, they tie them up in bundles. So look at the cords that that were tying up your bundles, and if the colours don't work, you might be able to colour them with ink tents or whatever you happen to have. So yeah, and the tiniest little snippets like this, again coloured if need be with whatever you have. It's not like any of these projects are going to get thrown through the washing machine or anything, is it? So just experiment. Yeah, that was a bizarre, that's part of the smocked part of a top. But I quite like it, just I put some through there. Okay, let's have a look at the book and let's just do some stitching. I might try some of these, doing them like this, just sprinkled in the background somewhere, perhaps in the same, in a more coordinating thread. I'll make this one a little bit smaller. It's quite a nice way to blend the background pieces of fabric kind of together a bit. If I overlap the different background fabrics with the same stitch, that'll help to pull them together, if you know what I mean. Fun threading my needle now. Would be quite fun with this one to do, as she suggests, and use a fine metallic thread to get the effect of sparkles on the sort of towards the top where the sun might be coming down through. I want to add lots of beads to the background here, sequins and beads and things, like where Viviana does that. I've shown this before, but any excuse to show it again. So she uses beads as part of her background kind of foliage and things, but she also does these, like, look at these, like a stream of bubbles coming up from some creature down here. And then she also uses beads down the seahorse's spine, and to create these little bits on that kind of crest. Beautiful. It's funny, isn't it? And sometimes something you're not really sure of, once you do loads of it, it suddenly starts to make sense. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense to anyone else but me? Finish up this piece of thread, and then maybe repeat some of these in the other textures in similar colours. So so these as well, I think, just to see what it looks like if they're kind of similar colours but different textures of thread, and layered over one another to make them look more interesting. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'll be back in a sec. Right, so I've done quite a few more of those in different kinds of threads, and sort of overlapped them over each other and just scattered them up in that direction. Don't really know what they're meant to be, but it's an interesting bit of texture in the background, and I might even build that up some more later. Now I'm going to try doing the arrowhead. See, I've got some of this bright pink, and I thought I'd do some running down here, more in this kind of a format. That's what I'm going for. So let's see how this goes. You can see I've already done some bits before with a bit of Y stitch or fly stitch and some detached chains and things down there. I'm going to go for this bright pink this time. Doing that wrong, aren't I, already? I've automatically gone into fly stitch mode. It's like an old horse that knows her way home. And I could later add beads to the ends of these stitches as well, of course. I don't know if I'm really doing this actually quite right now, but I'm just going to keep going because I like it. I think that's lovely. Let's do some more of this. I think it looked really pretty in this variegated orange as well, so I might do some of that in a minute. I definitely need more brightness and drama in this piece for sure. I think the effect would be good, and I might just do a line of back stitch now coming down here and make it like it's on a long stem almost. Do a whipped back stitch to finish it off. Yeah, I don't think I did a great job of that. I'll have another go up under my nose in a minute, see if I can do a better job of it. That's a bit gappy. But I think, you know, you won't particularly notice that if I do a few others around it. I'll maybe even try using some of the lighter shade and go over the top of it and make it a two-colour one, fill in the gaps with a lighter colour, see how that looks. That could be quite fun. So now I'm just going to whip the stitch by going back under the stitches I've already made, not into the fabric, just wrapping the stitch around wrapping the thread around the stitch that I've already made, basically. I always tend to go right to left. It doesn't really matter which way you go, but you need to like do it consistently. We could even run a thread up there now as well, actually. Let's do that. Quite like that. Okay, let's knock that off at the back. I have such a messy backside. I can do some more of these. I'll do it off camera. I can take this downstairs. I thought I'd do a few now and then take it downstairs to finish off in front of the telly. Well, not finish off, but do some more work on. I do want to move on to doing the working on the seahorse soon, just for the benefit of anyone who's got the seahorse template and not sure where to start. And then I've still got the lobster, and I'm going to add in a turtle and starfish, I think. Well, I'm going to go back in again with this paler pink and fill in where I'd left gaps. It's quite tricky to do it neatly when you've got it at arm's length at a funny angle. But if I don't do that, you won't be able to see what I'm doing. So, well, I'm really not sure what kind of sea vegetation that is, but I'm quite happy with it. That'll be fine. I see with the back stitch stars, what she's done is take stars like I've made there and then do like a back stitch between them. With uneven straight stitches, a back stitch star can act as filler, texture or overlay to add interest. Think stars, flowers and underwater debris, which is kind of what I've created there probably. Quite like the idea of maybe trying some back stitches between some of those spokes. I might do that in a minute. I'm thinking it'd be quite fun to try some of this huge thread, but I don't know how well I'm going to get on using a big enough needle for this thread. I'm getting through these layers, so we'll see. Yes, I think what I've done there is I've tried to do the stacked one and ended up making a leaf, and then she's done a leaf as well. Yeah, but it don't matter. As long as I'm happy with the effect, which I am, then that's fine. And I'm hoping to get this kind of effect here. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, I think this thickness of thread would be better couched down really for this project, but I just want to try at least one to see how it looks. Wish I had more of this thread. It's beautiful and it works so well with the colours I'm using. Got a very little, that's all I've got of it though, so. I've left a bit more of a gap down the middle there than Judith has. Oh, it's quite hard work getting this thread through there, but I do love the texture of it. Really like that. I will definitely do some more of them, even though it is a bit hard work. I like the way she has them kind of clustered together there is quite nice. I'd quite like to try some of this now, and maybe some of this. Maybe it's enough for one video to try each of these stitches really. So I'm going to leave that thread back there because I can use I can do a bit more with that, what's left of that. And let's bring some, I'm thinking I don't really like that bright pink there now, but I'm going to ignore it for now. I don't think I did a very good job of the stitching. I'm not sure that was the right colour. I don't know, it might just be that I need to add more of it and then it'll be okay. I want to try this threaded back stitch. So she's just done quite a large back stitch there, and then she's threaded fibres through one way and then gone back through and threaded it in the other direction. So I could even thread, if I did the back stitch big enough, I could even thread things like this through, you know. Or I could thread this through if I wanted pink. Do I want a bit of green here though? I feel like a bit of green would be good. Perhaps if I do the back stitch in this and thread this through it. This is actually a crochet cotton, but it's fine for this. Sometimes all you need is like there, I've just torn a strip of one of the scraps from the bazaar packs and just started off with a bit of fly stitch at the top there, you know, and left some of it free, you know, doesn't need to be anything complicated. I guess I could draw the line I want to follow first, but of course I'm far too lazy to do that. So I'm just doing a fairly large back stitch there, you can see. I want these stitches to be large enough to take whatever fibres I decide to thread through. So I've got my back stitch now running from there down through to there. I've picked two kinds. I've picked these two, the one with a sparkle and this kind of knitted tubular one. I think they look nice together. I'm going to go with that. And they're variegated, they're not the same all the way along. I'm going to get so many different effects with this depending on what kind of fibres you use. I mean, if I was to use one of these in there, I'll get a completely different. Look at this beautiful fringed one. Love it. I can bring so much variety into this. Oh, another thing I meant to show you is I've got my hoarded bag of velvets, different kinds of velvet. I'm going to bring some of these in. I'm kind of imagining some of these topped with. So what Viviana does is to make her kind of jellyfish, she manipulates the fabric into pleats like this and stitches them down like that, and then she makes these beautiful beaded tops. And I'm thinking I could use one of the beaded tops that Betty sent me to create starfish, my own kind of, I don't know if they're jellyfish or sea urchins or whatever those are, you know the things I mean. Yeah, beautiful, just crumpled up velvet like that. I'm hoarding these scraps for ages. They're quite small, but ideal for doing this kind of thing. They'd also look nice just made into almost like a Suffolk puff and then padded out, perhaps topped with one of these beaded things I showed earlier. I'm going to leave the end free, just wafting. So this time it's not like with the whipping the stitch. This time I'm going to go right to left and then left to right on the first pass. And I could put it quite tight, or I could leave it quite loose to give it more texture. I could let it twist, or I could smooth it out. All those things will give it a different look. It might be easier to control the twist if I didn't have such a long length, but I'm just using the whole piece. I don't want to cut off a length and end up wasting some, so I'm using the whole length. I think that's why it's tending to twist so much, but a bit of patience, I'll get there in the end. I'm going to keep doing this till I get to the bottom and then I'll come back. Right, so I've finished going in and out in that direction, and now I'm going to go back in the other direction with this thinner sparkly thread, and I might even decide to use another one as well. I might decide I've got made them too loopy, but at the moment I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, let's see how this goes. Right, so I'm going to start from the top again. I've got 2 lengths of different fibres in my needle now. So this time I'm going in the opposite direction to the way I went on the way down. So I'm just going to go back and forth, threading these extra little decorative threads into the stitches that I did before. And then I can trim this off at the top here. It's fine. Yep, enjoying that. It's a lovely way to use these fibres. Really enjoy them. I reckon you could do something similar with all kinds of leftover yarn and stuff, or torn strips of silk, kind of silks that you get in the bazaar packs. These would definitely go back and forth through there. It'd make a really nice effect. I'm going to try that in a minute. And ribbons like this, they go lovely going back and forth through there. So yeah, I'm going to try this with all sorts of yarns, and you could do quite short lengths and use quite small scraps up. Try not to go too fast with this and get myself knotted up. But if I end up with a little bit of a knot like that, it's not really going to matter, is it? You know. Let's go underneath the red one this time. I think the glittery fibre is about to run out, but the chenille one's going on a bit longer. So I think that's quite a fun little bit of frondage. What should we try next? So that's kind of this. I've done most of those. I haven't done this braid stitch, which I know is on. Yeah. A wonderful stitch for creating grain shapes, flowers, stems, leaves and texture. Can be stitched side by side to create bark texture for tree trunks. Nice idea. So bring the needle up at A. Let me show you the diagram. You can pause on that if you want to. So I'm going to bring the needle up at A. Down again at B. Okay. Come up at C. Slide the needle under the straight stitch between A and B. Then go down again at D, which is as close to C as possible, but not into it. Okay. Come back up at E. So just a little bit lower down. Slide the needle onto the straight stitch again. Go down at F, which is going to be here. And out at G. And this time you slide the needle under those previous stitches like that. Instead of before we slid it under the straight stitches, this time we slide it under those kind of chain stitches we've made. Oh, I think I should have made that. I think I should have come out further down than that. Hang on. Bear with. I definitely need to make some of these coming over the top of this and not be afraid to cover the bits of this up, or have it sort of half covered, you know. Okay, so I'm going to come out further down than I did before. I'm hoping I can close in on this a bit more when I'm editing, because it's already on the closest setting. Okay, so this time I've come out a bit further down. I'm going behind those stitches. I'm going to do it with the back end of the needle so I don't catch the fabric. That's better. And like we did before, come out really close to where we go down, really close to where we came out before, but not exactly the same hole. And come out a teeny bit lower down, back under the previous stitch. Back down close to where we came out. I get it now. This is a lovely stitch actually. I've never done it before. Okay. And once I get a feel for it, I'll know sort of how far down I want to come each time. Oh yes, a nice little stitch I think will find its way into my repertoire. Right, let's do one more review and then I'll go on to something else. Don't want to bore your pants off. I think this will look really nice in the variegated thread too. Yeah, I quite like that. Definitely will do some more of that, or some of it I'll bring over the top of this. If I do some more of it, then some of these other sort of shades in the variegated orange will come through and it will start to look a lot more interesting. I'll leave that for now and try a different one with you again. Bullion stitch. This can be pushed into various shapes to make cactus, seaweed, tree branches and ferns. Heavier yarns and threads create wonderful foreground shapes. Yeah. I like the way she's like interwoven it with this, with like twisted fabric or whatever that would be there. That's nice. And a straight stitch in between it. And just like linked together into, this just looks like a certain kind of seaweedy stuff that I couldn't possibly name it, but okay, let's just try a bullion stitch, and I think I'm going to leave this one for now, and next time we'll do some of these variations of buttonhole stitch and how she's used those to create little bits of sea life. And I can meanwhile have a bit of a play with creating some more of these with different pieces of this fibre and things that I've got in there. It's going to be really busy. So I want to try everything. I think I might introduce some of the crumpled velvet into this page, as I haven't got any rocks on this page yet, so I think that would be quite good. I'm going to do some of these bullion knot things here. Okay, now, bullion knot is something that I have struggled with, so decide the width of the stitch and come up at A. Okay, pull the thread through, go down at B. So the distance between A and B is the width, is going to be the width of the stitch, isn't it? So go down at B, come up again at A, whoops, raise the tip of the needle by holding it in your left hand and putting pressure on the top of the needle eye, and then wrap the needle clockwise with the thread. Yeah, okay, so it's like when you make a French knot. Yeah, so all she's saying is hold it in your left hand, press down like that, and that raises the tip of the needle, and then go clockwise, wrapping the needle with the thread enough times to fill the space that you want to fill. And it usually helps with these to have a needle that has quite a slim eye. The trouble is it's got to be big enough to hold this thread, but slim enough to go through all these wraps. That looks about right to me. Let's do one more, because if it raises up a bit, I don't care. Okay, and now I'm supposed to hold the wraps and pull the needle through all of them. Pull it through, holding firmly, and pull away from yourself in order to tighten the knot. Okay, so far so good. And then go back into B to pull the bullion into place. Okay, back into B. Don't think this is going to look very good. Oh, it's not bad, it's not bad. Don't think I did quite enough wraps there. I need to do more next time, but okay, this one. I like this one with the spaces between. I think I might do something like that. So let's bring another one out here. Okay, come out to A, go back, go to B, out again at A, but don't put it all the way through. Raise the tip of the needle, wind round clockwise. Let's do it more times this time. Pull and push them right back, because you need it to fill all of that space there, otherwise it's going to look threadbare. Okay, surely that's enough. That's a better one. They look like little maggots. I'm going to do I'll do one more with you now. I think I kind of know what I'm doing. Come out at A, go down at B, back out again at A, but don't pull it all the way through. Tip up the tip of the needle, clockwise wraps to fill the space. Err on the side of it being too many wraps rather than too few, because I don't mind if they curl up a bit. Hold that firmly while you pull the needle through. This is why it helps if your needle eye isn't too big, so that it can come through these loops. Whoops. Yeah, not too bad for me. Some of their swaps and bonkers quilt pieces that I've been sent have got loads of bullion knots, and people do such a fabulous job with them. I feel like that does look a bit like maggots. I think it's going to be, these are going to look better once I've got more of them and I chain them together. I think it's milliner's needles are one of the needles that are supposed to be quite good for doing bullion knots, because they're eyes aren't, their eyes are slim. Well, that's not too bad. I can definitely do a few more of them, but it's going to take me quite a while. I'm not quite sure how you do it over that. I suppose you would just make your stitch over the piece of fabric, like over that. Yeah, so I would definitely experiment with that a little bit as well. Well, I think that's probably enough to be going on with. So we've done the threaded back stitch, where you take your back stitch down and then you put fancy fibres going back and forth. Definitely need a bit more practice with that, but I think, you know, the fact that it looks a bit ramshackle don't really matter. We've done that kind of a star stitch thing there. I love the braided stitch. That's definitely one that's going to become part of my regular repertoire. Like the idea of using the what she's calling a stacked arrowhead stitch there. It's a bit like I do for what I call a leaf stitch. Very similar, at least I did it in a similar way anyway. It looks lovely in that chunkier thread. Wasn't so happy with it here, but I think that's probably just my technique and my choice of colour. That's okay because it's got hidden by that a bit now, so it's fine. And then the bullion knots, which I will string together with another colour. I think perhaps with a green or something, or a different pink or something like that. I'm not sure. Just feel like they're not very fat, so the stem needs to look thinner. So we'll see how that goes. But all of them are going to look better once I've got more of them, and I haven't got time to do all that now. Also feeling like this is looking quite dull now. I need to stitch some beads and things in the centre of that to make it pop a little bit, and I might even do an extra row of blanket stitch around these edges of these as well, to make it just, you know, even if I just did it in a something like that, just to make it a bit deeper. I just don't like that is flat. And some beads, beads, sequins, beads, and all the work I've got to do on the octopus. I've already shown how to do that stitch, inspired by Viviana. That's the stitch that she uses. I've already shown how I'm going to do that. So that's enough stitching to keep certainly to keep me busy this week, what with that and the bonkers quilt as well, and my cross stitch kit I'm doing. I've got my September stitch kit box was a beautiful cross stitch kit. Well, it's a book to make cross stitch dolls with, and enough supplies to make 2 of the dolls, and it is beautiful. But of course, cross stitch is quite time consuming, so don't think I'm going to get them done this month for sure, but I'm really enjoying them. And loads of other things waiting in the pipeline. I'm just like spoilt for choice as to what to do next. It's brilliant. It does make it even more fun having you guys to share it all with. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you. I mustn't forget to say a huge thank you to my channel members who will be wafting up here, my founding fartists. Thank you so much to everybody who chooses to support the channel in that way. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in joining, there should be a button here somewhere that says join. There is on my when I look on my PC. It might be different on your device. You might have to click on the subscribe button, but if you do that you might unsubscribe. I don't know, but anyway, somewhere there's a join thing, and if you look in the description box, I've also put a link to join there. So if you click on that, it will just pop up a little window that will tell you all about it, what's involved in the channel members perks and things that we just do as a way to say a little thank you, because we appreciate it very much indeed. And I've just realised, look at the state of my hair. I've been going about like this all day. I've been outside. I've been to the door to the postman. I do. And I also appreciate every single person who takes the time to watch and leave lovely comments. I am finally catching up on my comments, thank goodness. I was well behind. I'll soon be back to answering them every day again. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I don't usually remember to say that, but yeah, that would be lovely. You don't have to, but if you want to, that'd be lovely. And I'm going to stop waffling now and go. Thank you very much. I'll see you again very soon. Bye. Oh, don't forget to keep sharing pictures of your seascapes as well. I'm so loving seeing them. I forgot to say that.